Well, congratulations on this movie, and it
Thank
really
you.
introduces something that I think audiences here are not that familiar with, the idea of the rental family business. So
Mm,
what is the
right.
reality of it?
Well, I think the reason this business exists, I mean, this business has been around since the 80s, and there's about 300 companies that provide similar services. And then all come from one, the in Japanese culture, there's a word exists. It's called honne to tatemae. Many of us are kind of taught to not show our true emotions, and but basically hide your true emotions. There's always a facade that we have to kind of put up in front of it. One, to not bother people with how we're feeling, and that's we kind of considered as it's a beauty, and then also as a respectful action to not bother them, with our feeling. And so um, many of Japanese people tend to suppress what they want to talk about, how they feel about it. So I wouldn't, I don't know how individuals are feeling in at some point. And then it's also the therapist business is not quite, it's not as open. People don't really tend to talk to a therapist, perhaps, if there's people to talk to. Here it's, you can pick up a call and talk, or you
Everybody
can,
has a therapist here. Yeah.
everybody has a therapist, right? But it's just a little bit slightly different over there. So rather than that, people sometimes use those services so that they can be close to, or they can speak to somebody. It's just kind of like right now, it's everybody feels a bit more lonelier than what we perhaps 20, 30 years ago, because of the technology. All this things is being really, it's up in there, it's been an issue. So that's kind of is why this business gets it. And then also it's just people just wants to spend time, right? Some people have that issue, want to talk to people because they feel lonely, to because they just want to spend the afternoon with somebody together because they never had somebody to spend time. Like, the rental family business, they have a older, they perhaps get somebody who's to play a brother role because this person never had a brother, or somebody just wants to, I don't know, go shopping with somebody because they just feel like they want to ask the friends to go shopping, and they just wants to somebody professional to give an opinion, or somebody have completely has nothing to do with it. So there's a lot of reason behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the story that you're telling in the film, I think
Mm.
there are two things that I read about your own life. One is that you, when you were very young, lived in Utah. You came to the United States, so you had experience of being a
Right.
gaijin in a way. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then, if
that's
this, I hope
100%.
this is not too personal, but I read that your mother, your father left, and your mother would kind of make up stories.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. That
Similar to
is
the
the truth.
character, which is very touching in the film.
Mm.
But could you talk about how you came to this story?
Sure. What you just exactly mentioned, I usually, when I write screenplay, I kind of come from my own experiences, and then see what resonated in my life that I feel like I could retell a story in that way, because I also feel it's a little bit more authentic than me just coming up with something completely. That's also fun too. Don't take it back, but this one particular, it was definitely experience that my mother used to make a little lie, or make up something so that I don't perhaps know the truth of what really happened. But as an adult, and then even back then, I felt that because my mom really cared for me and she really wanted to protect from perhaps the truth, because sometimes it's a lot to take for the children, little girl, to know the truth of what happened with my parents, perhaps. Um, but so that's one. And then for my experience as an exchange student living in Utah, even though as isolated I felt, as lonely I felt in that moment, I made so many great friends,
Hmm.
David. Like, they're all the friends that I'm still to this day such a good friends. I call them best friends. They're like my family. There's that found family that I was lucky enough to create, and so that experience really resonated with me, resonated with me all the way, throughout my career. I just always called them my family, right? So I kind of wanted to flip the idea. And then what does it look like if, somebody like Philip,
Yeah.
Caucasian man, American guy come to Tokyo, and what if he creates a family there?
Right.
And then also there's a message that I really want the audience to know that, we're not alone. If there's a people that you feel like you want to connect to, or if you feel like you need somebody to be there, then all you have to do is just reach out, right? And then there's that community that you create. It becomes your family, your neighbors, your best friends, your coworkers. They
Yeah.
become your family. So I wanted people to know that. Yeah.
Well, Brendan Fraser does such a great job as Philip on a number of levels.
Yes.
One, he just sort of physically looks different. I mean, in his recent performances, he's really used his kind of size and just physical look, but he also
Mhm.
really expresses a kind of openness. Like he can't help but
Right.
having a real emotional connection, and that's sort of the
Hmm.
um, paradox in the film that the situations are fake, but the emotions are real. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
points in the film. So,
Right.
and it also is very much a movie in a way about acting. So,
Hmm.
I guess could you talk about working with Brendan Fraser and some of the things maybe you discussed with him?
Sure.
Yeah.
Brendan is when he's in, he's, all in. And he really was, it was just a pleasure to work with. But he also really took the character seriously. He took Japanese lessons like between 4 to 6 months, like, somewhere around there that he just took really spent time to learn the language. And then he even spent time in Japan previously of this project. So he knew about the Japanese culture, and he really he the way he approached the character was very much on, because Philip is somebody who's there for 6 years, but he's also left his home, right? And he's really nowhere to go back. He's already in Japan, and this is kind of his home. And he's really trying everything for him to adapt the culture, and then also to be one of us, right? Or one of people who lives in Japan. So the way he approached the character was really being there, experience the life, what is it like, and not being that big American as
Yeah.
he's really a big guy. He just really like figure out how to adapt. He tried to fit into the culture. And when you see some of the scenes that I talked to him like, okay, Philip is somebody who's not there to say I'm here, but he's somebody like when he sits on the chair on the train, he squeezes in and just trying to be invisible. When he see people through the glass, he's just kind of watching everybody through the glass. So there's a distance. There's some sort of loneliness that we can feel. And he really took it to the heart, and he really understood the character. And as the movie, obviously moves forward, you see him starting to open up. And so there's a lot of conversation we had, but and also he's so natural at it. He understood the character. We talked a lot about his backstory. That's what we did
Hmm.
beforehand. And then when we came to the set, when he came to the set, he'll do the first take, and then I'll just do a little adjustments, and he give me way, different than I expected. And we'll just kind of play the ping pong throughout the, production, and just to see how it feels in that moment, to talk through that moment. And then, most of the time we agreed. So we whatever the scene was happening in that moment, so we were able to really achieve the emotion that he was going through, even though
It's
we shot everything in different orders, out of order, I should say.
yeah,
Yeah.
so he's so great. And I guess he had just won the Academy Award before starting.
Yeah,
Right.
right. And he's who you see, who you think he would be. He's just a giant teddy bear who cares so much for everybody, who's there just happy to be there, and be very respectful for all of us in the crew. Yeah, Japanese crew.
I think all of the
It's really
cast was great. We don't have time to talk about everyone, but the performance by
sure.
the girl Mia or
Mhm.
Shannon, who plays Mia, is incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
She not acted before?
That's her first time,
Yeah.
very first time acting, and she was so pure. I think that's something that we talked about. I told her, let's memorize the lines, right? But then I didn't really want to rehearse too much with Brendan. We just made it a couple one time, read through with everybody, and then we just met. We read through once, and then that was really it. And yeah, we just kind of let that her authentic, reaction. I guess one of the things that I told her to just really listen to Brandon and just listen to whatever happens. Just listen to what he has to say, because that's how we communicate. And she really did a great job. I was very blown away and crying literally every time, like through the monitor, how incredible the performance she was giving.
And I'll just ask about Akira Emoto, who plays the writer, who is so great, and I guess really one of the great actors in Japan, but not as well known here. But that must have been a special experience.
Yes, absolutely. He was, he's not somebody who come to audition, but because we have, he has. I had to I requested for him to come read the line, and he really he came in, and I was so nervous because I watched him growing up, and but he really nailed it, and he studied so hard. He studied English because he has a lot more the English line than Brennan perhaps has Japanese line. So he really went down, and he understood the character, and it was really hard. He said it was interesting. He said it's harder than he thought. It was him actor playing the actor, and he said it was a very interesting process. And but he also have the other parts that he has to work on, perhaps the dementia and all of it that he also felt close to, because anything could happen to any of us really. So he was able to look into the character deeper in that sense.
I mean, that idea that it's just one of the most touching ideas in the film, that all relationships have to end, even though with Philip he's playing a part, so the job comes to an end. But there's a lot that's universal in the film about any type of relationship.
Yeah, it is true. It is, that it does. Some relationship has to end, and we have to be okay with it, but I think when that happens, all we can do is to send a good vibe, good energy, and say arigato, thank you, and then move on, right?
Exactly. I just want to make sure we talk about the visual style and the filmmaking, because it's a really great looking film. The city of Tokyo is so important in the film. But I love the kind of sequence inspired by Rear Window when we're looking into the apartments and seeing private lives. But could you talk a bit about what you had in mind in terms of the filmmaking?
Sure.
I know you have a background in photography and art, but
totally. So for me, just kind of setting up, when we were writing a script with Stephen too, how can we set him up so that he's there, we're with him, but then there's a separation between outside of the world and within him. So we started on him looking through the neighbor, through the glass. That was kind of like my idea, like let's have him watch everybody through the glass. And then but as the movie unfolds, the next time he's outside, he's outside taking his laundry in, but then when he comes inside of the house, he's practicing to be the dad. And then jumping forward, when he comes back, after Kikuo's character dismisses him and say, you don't have to come back. And then after he said goodbye to little girl, he's inside, he comes out of the of the balcony, into the balcony, and he sees everybody. That kind of represent how emotionally he feels, and he's ready to take on the new journey. So for me, and then also the color scheme, we started on the blue tone all the way to, as Mia comes into his life, starting putting a little bit more color into his life. So, there's a jellyfish. We brought that in so that it kind of gives a little hint of there's something new is happening. And then from there, we gradually changed a little bit more in the colorful side as he goes to a, at the end of the place, he goes to the Amakusa, which is the island. It's much more warmer green than the yellow, and it just opens, the life is completely different at this point. So I try to think about those color authenticity, like how can I emotionally bring that audience. Most people probably notice, and which is, I hope they don't, because I don't want people to notice really suddenly, because it just has to be subtle. So it was very, very much like finding the two, like a perfect balance between the color and as the story progresses, and then also how blocking wise, how I'm gonna bring him, outside to the world,
Yeah.
as he opens up himself, and then as
Yeah.
he discovers his life. Yeah,
I think that's exactly it.
yeah.
Just goes through this emotional journey that's so touching. Uh,
Mm.
I love that that at the teacher conference he can't help but talking about his daughter. It's almost like she's actually become his daughter.
Yeah, yeah. No, they really had a great chemistry too. As they would go to Disneyland on the weekends and have a great time together.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, but he was very he really took on that character, because all this character he becomes the surrogate too. Kikuo, he plays the father role for him, and the little girl is a daughter that he never had. So he's kind of playing this role, playing these roles without him knowing that those are people that it's been missing in his life. And that was kind of also my I would say my way of saying, anybody in your life, whoever comes into your life, could be one of those people. And so we don't have a perfect family members. All we have to do is just kind of see your life in a separate, different way, and there are people that could potentially play those roles for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little message I wanted to share,
Okay.
that
Well, it definitely
to
comes
yeah.
across. Definitely, and it's a very
Great.
wonderful movie. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking the time. And
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Thank you. And then, if you don't mind, if I can just send the last little bit of my message. I think the world is such a crazy time right now, and there's a lot of isolation. I feel like people are feeling lonely, and just if you're feeling a certain way, I just want you guys to know that, and it's okay to feel that way, but we kind of have to make that first step, and don't be afraid to share your emotions. Don't be afraid to how you're feeling and what you need, because chances are there's are people who's going to help you, right? And then the people who are kind of having great time, but if you think of somebody after watching this movie and think about anybody, then just let's pick up a phone and then check in with them and then see how they're doing, because I think the connection that we have not really be having just over text, just let's a call, let's find a connection, and then make each other, and then we can create this beautiful community, and a family in a very most beautiful way, just by reaching out to people. So
thank you. I think it's
yeah.
great to see a movie that really expresses all of that you just said. It's
Thank you.
so thank you again. Okay.
Thank you so much. All right,
Bye-bye.
have a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.